welcome to Turn the Page, the official podcast of the Syosset Public Library.
Hi, welcome to Syosset Library's Turn the Page podcast. I'm your host, Jessica, and I'm really excited to welcome back for the third time an author who came on the scene with a not-so-dreadful book called Dreadful, about somebody who was dreadful and became less dreadful. And then last year, she was here with a PTA for extraordinary children, and the problems of the parents who are the parents of that child when they're not embedded in that world. And now we are here with Startup Hell, which is wonderful. Caitlin Rozakis, thank you so much for coming back.
It's awesome to be back. This was really fun last year. It's fun to join you guys again.
It's always fun to talk to you, and your books are just great, and they're really just good distractions from everyday life, and they manage to bring everyday life stuff into them, but not in a way that feels heavy, which I love. Startup Hell was wonderful. So in your own
Yay.
words, I said that before, I know, but I can say it twice because why not? People should
Yeah.
but in your own words, tell us what it is about, and then I would just love to dig in and discuss it with you.
Absolutely. So, Startup Hell is about a Manhattan office worker who's working for a terrible startup tech company. And one day she comes in and her boss is face down on the desk dead. And this demon that he summoned is still trapped in the circle. So now she's got this demon, and she's a junior marketer, and he's a junior sales demon, and they team up. And it goes great for everybody, by which we mean terrible.
I thought there was so much fun to be had in this story. And I really like, Morgan, she's a witch, and she comes from this this duo of parents who are well known. Her mom is basically like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer in her, older years, but still manages to keep her tech, her little physique going there for her. And Morgan just kind of feels like she's floundering. So, like she has the knowledge about, or she thinks she has the knowledge about demons when she sees this situation because of who her mother is. But the demon himself, which, like at first, like you automatically know he's hot because like she says his voice is very sexy. But he's such a cinnamon roll. Like he's so like such a like babe in the woods in this situation. I was not expecting that, and not saying, I mean, look, we have lots of fun media out there that play with the ideas of, like what's demonic and what isn't, and what and good and evil and what that means. Buffy being one of them, and then recently we have things like Has Been Hotel and other animated series. But I really just kind of liked how Luke, or is it Lucareoth or Lucareoth?
Yeah, Lucareoth. So it's
Lucareoth.
Luke for short.
Yes, just kind of developed, like he's mortified that his deal has gone wrong. She has a quota, he has a quota. Of course, they're gonna try to make this work together. Where did the idea for this come from? Have you worked in startups before?
Yeah, I've spent the better part of like 15 years doing tech marketing, mostly for startups. So and I've worked for some that were better than others. Uh, and there's there's plenty of stuff that is useful and good about tech startups, but there's a whole lot that's also super toxic. And I feel like the way that tech interacts with private equity uh, has driven some really nasty patterns that you keep seeing over and over again. Uh, where this idea originally came from actually was so I mean I played tabletop RPGs and I ran a two-shot RPG for my group once that was like a super homebrew system where the I told them that what this game was about working at a terrible startup where they were told that their goal was that their CEO had just changed the entire point of how they were going to be positioning this product, and they have an investor meeting tomorrow. Guess what, guys? You're all locked in the like we're ordering pizza and we're going to be here all night redoing this presentation. And like I gave them all of these distractions where each of them had like secrets that they were hiding from each other, and they each had different, like I assigned them to different roles in the company and everything. And I made it look as if it was a comedy about just being stuck in an office. And what I didn't tell them was that there was a ticking clock of when whoever touched this, because it was this juice press thing, very juicero, and whoever touched it first was going to get cut by a spring that misfires in this thing. And as soon as blood hits this thing, that it would put them, it would that the CEO secretly had a pact with the devil, and as soon as blood touched this thing, it would move them all into a different plane of reality. So they spend the first, hour like fiddling around with stuff, and then they slowly like they go realize that the pizza hasn't showed up yet, and they slowly realize that I mean the windows are dark outside and they can't actually see any of the other buildings, and when they try to use the elevator doesn't work and they are physically stuck here, and then somebody finally goes in and realizes that the CEO is dead. uh and so the end of the first session was the guess what, guys, you're all in hell. And then the second session was them having to bargain their way back out of hell, which was super fun. But it sort of gave me this idea of like we use a lot of very fantasy terminology in tech, which is ridiculous when you think about it. You've got like angel investors, which are when somebody who's very wealthy comes in and is an individual investor for a early stage startup. And you've got unicorns, which is when a startup gets $1 billion valuation before their IPO. And everybody wants to be a unicorn. And you get all like, and you always have had all of these metaphors around sales, around selling your soul for the company, around making deals with the devil kinds of stuff. And so there's a lot of fun in just making that all extremely literal, rather than having this be metaphorical. It's like, nope, nope, genuine demons. Uh, Luke was initially intended to be a little bit more ruthless. Like I'd had this initial picture of that he gets better and she gets worse as they interact with each other, and it didn't survive the first time he appeared on page. Because I just like part of what I like doing as a writer is taking absolutely ridiculous situations and then making them really grounded. Where you think about like, okay, what if me, normal person, found myself in this ridiculous situation? Would I act like a Hollywood hero? Or would I actually be just really confused and kind of upset? And I want to go home and take a nap. And where's the manager? And what's going on? So I had this guy who he's relatively new to his job too. And he is used to living in hell. I mean, he lives in the infernal plane, which is not a very nice place, and people get eaten all the time. So he's definitely got a very different perspective on morality than we do. But he just wants to do his job. Like that's all he act like he just wants to make his boss happy so he doesn't get eaten. And he's interested in buying people's souls, but not because he's like chortlingly evil, but because he has a quota like so many people in corporate America do. And part of what this is exploring is how much capitalism kind of forces us into things that we wouldn't necessarily want to do on our own, but there's rent that's due. And we gotta eat. And this was the job that you could get out of college when you graduated into a bad job market, and this was the thing you could do. Uh, and that just, I liked drawing a lot of parallels between uh, somebody who's just working a job that they aren't passionate about, but they're supposed to fake passion because, companies want us to be passionate about our thing when you know they're going to fire you with no warning, but you're supposed to be passionate about whatever it is that they sell. And you're just doing stuff. Sometimes you might think is a little ethically dubious, but it's what you got to do to be able to make your rent. And then comparing it to a bunch of demons who, again, aren't necessarily passionate about luring people into their souls, but they have quotas and they don't want to get eaten. And so if they want to make their quota, they're going to do this thing. Uh, so poor Luke ends up on a different plane. And I'm like, well, okay, so you're a demon. You think you know how the world works, and suddenly you find yourself on another plane. Like, we would be terrified to end up on the infernal plane. And, minor spoilers, Morgan does, and she does not enjoy the experience. But he doesn't enjoy the experience either. It's very confusing. It's really scary. He doesn't know what's going on. And I realized that, like, yeah, this guy's going to be really scared. And it's kind of cute. And they realize that they have a lot in common. And especially it's fun because by making Morgan's mom, a demon hunter, uh, he's terrified of her mom. Her mom is really scary.
Yeah, I mean, her mom is really scary, actually. For Morgan too.
Well, I mean, it's like late 90s, early 2000s, we had this whole urban fantasy, paranormal romance thing, which was super fun. Like this is very much in the mode of I loved those. I still love them. Uh, but there's also a lot of the story came alive for me when I added Morgan's mom of having this also be like this kick-ass black leather clad heroine who can stab things and cast fireballs, and she is Buffy and Anita Blake and Dresden and October Day and all of them rolled into one. And she's got this long romantic history with lots of incredibly inappropriate people. And she's here to kick butt and take names. And Morgan has magical dyslexia. She grew up in this world where, it's this secret world where all the normies don't know about magic, but she knows. She grew up with her family being up to their elbows in apocalypses and everything. And she's used to having non-humans bounce through the house on the regular. And she is utterly incapable of doing magic herself. And it stinks because she had this whole life modeled out for her. Her parent, like, she is the daughter of this kick-ass demon hunter and this amazing research guy, and they are, magical celebrities practically, and she cannot follow in their footsteps. She's just a normal person, and that is a really fun thing to play with, partially because it let me have a non-magical character because she's got no powers. She's stuck with whatever she can manage to do as a normal human. But she does know the world some. Uh, so I mean, in the last book, so this is set in the same universe as my previous book, The Grimoire Grammar School Parent Teacher Association. They're not connected plot-wise. There's a few Easter eggs and a couple minor cameos, but they're set in the same place, like in the same world, but totally separate from each other. And in the previous book, I had a mundane character get inducted into this magical world where everything is confusing and she doesn't know what's going on. And I didn't want to do that again. Uh, like Fish Out of Water is a lot of fun to play with, and it gives you an entry point for the reader, but it gets a little old. And by making Luke our fish out of water instead, gave me a chance to turn that same kind of lens on a normal office where somebody's got to go on a coffee run to Starbucks, and that the office first aid kit is woefully inadequate, so we better go to Dwayne Reed. Uh, and he none of this makes any sense to him at all. Everything about Starbucks and the ice getting ice from Dwayne Reed is just like, what is going on? And then also being able to play with all of the, I don't know, trope seems like the wrong word when it's real life, but all of the things we all deal with our offices and coworkers, and the tensions between different humans who are coworkers, uh, having a magical person look at this and be like, so it is, are they going to eat each other? It's like, no, no, we don't eat people on this plane. Oh, okay. But that thing, why is there a goat? Well, because there's goat yoga. Because HR is ridiculous. Oh my God, why do you have a baby demon running through? It's just a goat. The goat shouldn't be in here. The goat's attacking the copy machine, but it's just a goat. It's not a baby demon. No, oh my God, stop. Uh, there's so much fun to be had with that.
And it was a lot of fun in the book. And I really loved the side characters too. We already talked about Morgan's mom. There's Morgan's roommate, Giselle, who is an interesting mix into the story, when how she kind of plays this part between her best friend slash roommate and this demon who her best friend slash roommate decides to bring home and serve ice cream to. And you have Luke's coworkers, you have some of Morgan's coworkers. It was just a really, really fun book. Did any character in particular sort of other than Morgan's mom, because we know that she sort of came in a little bit later, but was there anybody else who kind of surprised you as a character you really enjoyed writing?
Uh, my two animals are lots of fun. Rix is a hellhound. There were hellhounds in the Grimoire Grammar School Parent Teacher Association, and they were terrifying. And Rix is kind of a runt, and he is the very goodest boy, but his drool does eat through the carpet. Uh, and he's not super bright. He usually has no idea what's going on, but he is so happy to be participating. So he was just loads of fun to write. And then Fiona, Morgan's mom, has a sidekick who is a magical corvid. Uh, Morgan thinks of him as a crow. He's not actually a crow. He's actually from another plane. He's got his own like backstory and a different name than the name used. I actually there's a bonus story that newsletter subscribers get that is a adventure with of Murder the Crow and Rick the Hellhounds. They go on an adventure together. And it's all from Murder's point of view, and Murder is so much fun to write. Uh, a extra planar murder crow is really entertaining.
And I'm actually really excited that that exists. So people subscribe to the newsletter because
Yes.
yeah, I want to read this
Yes,
now.
I always have a bonus story that for the book that is currently out, and subscribers also get access to the archives. So yeah, so the right at this moment at recording.